started, I'm going to introduce the council candidates. For place 1, we have Joey Graham, Tina Pike, and Marshall Steeple. Place 2, we have Bijan Tahari, D.L. Steeple. Place 3, we have Gary Hartline. Ricky Byram is, again, like I said earlier, is not here tonight for vacation. Place 4, we have Brandon Freeman, who is running unopposed, and I'm still making him sit up here and answer questions. Place 5, I have Jeff Young, and like I said earlier, Derek Rawson is out on vacation. Okay, we're going to do the same format as I did with the mayor candidates, except each one of you will have 1 minute to answer, just because of time restraints. So if you will, I will mix up the order that we go in. So Joey, you can take the first question, and if you will, just pass the microphone down. First question: what are the 3 most important issues in the city of Rainsville?
First of all, Tricia, thank you for having us here tonight, and thanks to Times-Journal for sponsoring this event. It's a privilege for us to get to speak to the voters of Rainsville, and thank you all for attending tonight. Rainsville has 3 issues, one of which is our roads. I think that's one of our key issues that we have right now. We have some roads that have fallen apart, and we need to have a policy put in place to where we're resurfacing X amount of roads each year to keep up with what we currently have in place. Another issue that we have, and it's not really an issue, it's more of an opportunity. We have the opportunity to expand our sanitation department to bring in some more revenue that we have, or possible revenue to grow that revenue stream. And a third issue that we really need to address is expanding our sewer system, especially all the way along Highway 35 from the top of the mountain to allow economic growth and development in that area. And I think those are really 3 key things that we can focus on in the next 4 years.
Okay, thank you. Tina? Yes, ma'am, same question, yes.
Well, at my standpoint, I'm going to have to say that our issues right now would be promoting more jobs, raising revenue. And if we raise revenue and bring in more businesses, then we'll promote more jobs. There's still a lot of people I hear every day, say I can't find a job, or I can't get a job, or they're looking for a job. And I think Rainsville needs to be able to offer their citizens a place to work if they're willing and eager to work. Another issue that I think we have is just debt, pulling our stuff out of debt and being able to pay for things that we need without having to borrow money. We should be able to do that as a town. We should come together and just be able to pay for the things that we need and not just keep digging ourselves in a hole of debt. Another issue I have is our park. I have a big issue with our park. Our bathrooms are disgusting. People don't want to go to those bathrooms. They'll go to the Hardee's and use the bathroom just to keep from having to go. Our swimming pool is dangerous. There's metal tables and metal chairs at our swimming pool. There's metal sticking out of them. It's very dangerous. It's unsanitary. Our bathrooms at the swimming pool is very unsanitary and needs to be cleaned up. We just need to upgrade.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with Tina about the debt. That's a big problem, and you don't want to have huge debt hanging over you. And I think we need to increase our infrastructure, and that will also facilitate jobs because, technically it's not the city's job to provide jobs. You want to provide the infrastructure and entice businesses in, in public safety, you want to give everything you can to the fire department, police department, build that up the best you can, and that will also bring in business. And
okay. For the one who don't know me, I noticed there's a guy that was down there a while ago. He didn't know who I was. My name is Bijan Tahari. That's all he says, Tahari. Like Teddy, Tahari. I've been here 41 years, and I'm a civil engineer, worked for Alabama DOT. I went to work for them from 1980. Been here 41, worked 36 years. And the question was, what's the most important? The three important. Number one is a road. Number two is a road. Number three is a road. And that's what my expertise is. And I'll be glad to serve this town one more time, because I served from 2008 to 2012, and I did pretty fairly job, but I did. I went to Montgomery, received $300,000 for Marshall Road. We did 4 miles of paving every year, and the city did not have to hire an engineer to do the work. And I put that money, that $25,000, $30,000 of engineering costs to 2 or 3 more roads. That's what you see today is from 4 years ago.
Thank you. Dale?
I'd be on Steeple. I think everybody probably knows me. It's hard to nail this down to 3 important issues. I'll go as far as I can and cover that. I think that probably the first thing I want to talk about is budget management. I see some areas, primarily in the amount of debt we carry, that needs some attention. We've got a large part of our revenue that comes in that is not budgeted. We talk about $5, $6 million coming in, but we're only budgeting the general fund, so there's a lot of designated funds that the council has very little control over. Business expansion, and I'm talking about not just retail business, but industry expansion. I'm a member of the Industrial Development Board. I know for a fact that we've lost an opportunity with at least 2 businesses because of the DC gas tax. Say what you may about it, but when you mention that, you walk away. And you can't get ahead in the game if you don't get in the batter's box. And we didn't get in the batter's box either of those times. The third thing, and I'll give you 4 if I have time, but the third thing would be some unity and cohesion in the body. I think most of us are tired of seeing all the discord that appears in the paper. It's embarrassing. The one promise I make to this community is I will never embarrass the city of Rainsville.
Thank you. Gary?
I'm Gary Hartline. I look at this a little different. When I was figuring the top 3, it includes a lot of what was mentioned. But my first one, it includes people on all of our major decisions. I think we're being left out. The things I run on is be the voice of the people, because I think the people have been left out in a lot of major decisions in our city. The second thing I would say would be infrastructure, which is all the things mentioned: sewer, roads, police, fire, and work with the water department. And that is going to bring a lot of things to our city. And the third thing I think that is real crucial is peace and harmony. We have to work together like we're brothers and sisters. If we fuss, fight, and argue, the next meeting, we got to put all that aside and work for what's the best of the people. No matter what we do, and no matter what we do with our brothers and sisters, we still get along and move on. We don't let things haunt us from one debate to the next.
Thank you. Brandon?
Right, my opinion on this may be different than some of the others too, because I'm listening to people tell us what we did wrong. And you know, I've been a part of this for the last 4 years, and a lot of stuff that y'all are mentioning is in the process to be done right now. And I'll just give for example, just like Tina was talking about with the park and the pool. Every bit of that's budgeted right now, that as soon as our bond money comes back, that pools that we took to pay for the sewer, the complete swimming pool upgrade is done. Everything about that's going to be done. The road money that we set aside to be paid is coming back, so the roads will be paid as soon as that bond comes through. So the biggest issues that y'all are saying are in place to be done. I mean, it's not that they was looked over, in my opinion. And as far as like the police department, I think that is, to my concern, that's where our growth needs to be. In public safety and anything like that. But that's, you know, that's my opinion.
How you doing? I'm Jeff Young. The first one, I think, issues I'm real concerned. I want the fire department and the police department, other municipalities taken care of. That's one of my first. The second one, I think the council and the mayor need to have unity. I think that is a very big priority because I think more could have got accomplished if there was more unity between those. The third one, the large economic growth, I'd like to see it. I also would like to see small business growth. I'd like the city members to get behind small businesses because small businesses make the city grow. So, thank you.
All right. Question 2, I'm gonna let Marshall Steeple answer first. Just trying to keep it mixed up. With the city's debt above $10 million, are you concerned with the city's ability to continue to offer services with this debt?
Well, first off, we shouldn't have been in the debt to start with. I guess I'll just rephrase. The bond, you know, we should have never done it. You never borrow money in an interest-only loan for the first, 6 years? 2023, I believe it's interest only. So if I would have been in office, you know, I would have definitely not voted for that. I mean, you know, I know we've heard a lot about what all's been done, but to me, that's a very poor decision. I can't even remember the question now.
With the city's debt above $10 million, are you concerned with the city's ability to continue to offer services with this debt?
Well, you know, I hadn't been privy to everything, but you know, that's got to be a concern. You know, if you keep making poor financial decisions, I mean, inevitably the chickens come home to roost. So, you know, I don't know. You know, I'd consider it. It's a possibility down the road if you make wrong choices. Inevitably, you're gonna pay the price.
No, go to Bijan.
There's a joke among my friends that say, you still got the first dollar you made. And they probably be right. I do have my first dollar I made. Why? Because I made the right decision. I'm very conservative with the money. It doesn't matter if it's my money and your money, I'm concerned about it. I manage $30, $40 million projects every day, every year on my work. And that's your tax dollar that comes here, and it's my responsibility to make sure that tax dollar spent wisely like it's supposed to. Of course, we hired a contractor to do the work, and they're there to make the money. They're in the business making money. And they're going to do whatever they can to cut the corners where they can make that money. Same thing with the city. I have to make sure if we let the project, it doesn't matter what it is, to make sure where that money goes and how you spend it. And quit borrowing. First when me and my wife got married, I'll tell the story later.
I think to summarize the question, was am I satisfied with the situation of the city's debt? No. I don't think it's necessary to have the debt we have now. I am a fiscal conservative. I make no apology for it. Some people just call me tight, but I think that the example that was used with the 7 years of nothing but interest to the tune of $350,000 would be like my wife and I going out and remodeling the house and buying new vehicles or whatever and deciding we wanted to wait 7 to 10 years to pay for it so the kids and grandkids could pay for it. That's basically what's happening with your money. The kids and grandkids are paying for it. Because I'll be just as conservative with your money, more so than I am with mine. I want it spent right, I want it spent for quality, as Bijan said, but I don't want it spent wastefully, and I will always oppose those types of measures, those types of issues that come before us.
Well, when I've been out campaigning, one of the biggest things I hear, other than police and fire, is the debt. I've seen a bunch of people, and that's just part of the running for office, and you hear what people have to say, and if you listen, the debt is a big issue. And I understand that the mayor and Roger says that we're in good enough shape to pay our bill, But it's like Dale said, down the road, are we going to be able to if we keep up this pace? And that would be my concern. But what I decide or don't decide will be up to what the people want. If the people want debt or less debt, that's what we work for. We're representatives. This is not a dictatorship. We're supposed to listen to the people. And I think that some of the debt that we have now was debt that the people didn't want. And you'll never have me voting for something that you don't want. Whether I might be for it or not. It's not about Gary Hartline. It's about you guys. I'm a representative of you.
Well, my answer to that is I don't think that we're in the shape where it's going to be a negative impact. For everything that we've done in the studies that we've done and the contracts that we've signed for that is there's no way that I can see that we're ever going to be behind.
I agree with Brandon on it. You know, we had a reserve last year, and if we did that and we got the debt, my personal opinion is we're going to be fine. And like I said, I totally support what Brandon just said.
To simply answer the question, will we be able to continue to provide services? Absolutely yes, without a doubt. A majority of the debt that was added really comes from 3 projects that was taken on. One was an upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant. That project itself was $2.8 million. Now that's a hefty upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant, but it's also going to increase the revenue stream that we currently have from processing the leachate water. The contract that we have in place is going to increase the price of the leachate from 2 cents a gallon to 3.25 cents a gallon, and also it's going to allow us to take a lot larger percentage of the leachate from the landfill. Essentially, we're going to be taking a revenue stream that was around $60,000 to $70,000 and bumping it somewhere in the neighborhood of over $240,000 a year. Now that increase in itself will pay for the loan associated with the wastewater treatment plant. The other things that we had that we needed to take care of, well, there was a $300,000 note that was on the agribusiness center that was being paid interest on now that we're able to dissolve. And we have 2 bridge projects that are upcoming, the Shapings Bridge project and the Boozer Bridge project, cumulatively $400,000 for those. That's where the $3.5 million in debt was added. The majority of it was from the wastewater treatment plant. So we're in no danger of losing any services with the city of Rainsville. Matter of fact, we're running surpluses and we've already budgeted in the payments on those. Thank you.
Tina.
Can anybody in here tell me that you're debt-free at home in your home? Anybody can say I'm debt-free. I'm not talking about power bills, gas, water, things that you have to have. Is anybody in here debt-free? There's a very few people that is. When your washer tears up or your refrigerator, are you able to go buy one or do you have to use a credit card? Do you have to borrow money from somebody? How stressful is it in your home for your family when you're in debt? When you dig yourself deeper and deeper in debt, how stressful is it on your family? How many people have lost their husbands or their wives because of arguments over finances? It doesn't matter where the debt is. It don't matter if it's in your home. It don't matter where it is at your workplace. It's stressful. It's hard. And once you get in a hole, it's very hard to get out of. So if we continue to go in debt, what we are doing is stressing out the citizens of Rainsville. It all goes around. It's stressful for the citizens, it's stressful for the council, it's stressful for the mayor. We don't want stress for our city, for the citizens. We want to relieve the stress in our homes and in our town.
Thank you. I will let DL start this one. This is question number 3. If you saw a fellow council member breaking ethics violations, how would you handle the situation?
I think this is the same question that was asked to mayors in their round, and If I was knowledgeable that it in fact was unethical what they were doing, obviously I'm going to call it to their attention. I guess their response would dictate some of my other actions. It gets back to, are they willfully disobeying the law, or are they willfully breaking, or creating an ethics violation? My experience in 30-some odd years of management is you want to make sure that the punishment matches the crime, so to speak. If they're just ignorant, then that's the time that you need counseling. You need to sit down and explain to them what they've done wrong and make sure it doesn't happen again. If they're doing it willfully, totally different situation. From a management standpoint, we understand that if you allow someone to willfully disobey the law, then you're liable yourself. So that's what you've got to make sure happens, that you determine what understanding or knowledge that person had of what they're doing at that particular time and handle it accordingly.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's a no-brainer. You have to treat the people as people and make sure. There's so many laws and ethic rules right now. It took me a whole day to qualify to run for this council seat. And it took some people to help me do the paperwork to get through it. So to say that everybody knows every law and every ethical thing of what some states and government call ethical or really laws, fine print rules that some people have never heard of. So I agree with DL on that. Talk to them. If it gets major, turn it over to somebody that can look at it from two different sets of eyes and just monitor it. Make sure it don't get worse. And make sure it gets better.
And I'll mirror exactly what they said. It's the same thing. If it's unethical, you go to the person, you talk to the person, and if it continues, you move up the ladder, and then you're going to get in contact with the ethics committee, and then you're going to have an investigation brought on, and then they're going to determine if it's ethical or not ethical.
Again, I agree with Brandon. He's saying the right things tonight. But yeah, it's, you go to that person and then carry on further from there if necessary.
Pass it on to Joey. We'll just stay over there.
I personally don't believe it's our responsibilities as council members to be the one who decides whether or not it's a violation or not. I was encountered with a situation very similar to this, and instead of telling you what I would do, I'd like to tell you what I did do. What I did is I saw what was clearly a violation of the Alabama Ethics Code. I reported that to the Alabama Ethics Department. There was an investigation made. I believe we all know what the outcome of that investigation was, so I won't get into that right there. But I believe it is our responsibility to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And it's one of those, when you sign up for this, you have to know what the laws pertaining to this position are. You have to take the time to study the ethics law and truly understand them, because you're putting yourself up to a higher standard than the other citizens of the community. So yes, they are complicated, but this is a complicated job that we're all vying for. So you have to take the time and effort to study them and understand how these complicated laws work and how they are, affect your daily job performance. So that's how I handled it in the past.
Tina.
That's really a no-brainer to me. If somebody's doing something wrong, we have department heads. I mean, the department heads should be notified and talked to first, and if they cannot handle the solution, then go to the councilman over that department. If they can't handle it, then there needs to be a group meeting, and it just needs to be brought to the attention that somebody's violating something, and I wouldn't uphold that at all. I don't uphold my children for doing things wrong at home, and I wouldn't uphold an employee or anything for doing something wrong.
Short answer, I would turn in somebody for breaking ethics laws. But with the remainder of my time, ethics are not only just, something that's blatantly wrong and they're breaking rules or whatever, and, that's a black and white thing. Ethics are how you treat people. And there's been people that's up here that somebody that came before a meeting, you know, to talk to somebody, to present something to the council. And they've been talked down to, disrespected. And they were a citizen that was concerned. And I feel that's ethics. You know, that's how you treat people, and that's how, when I think about ethics, that's what I think about, is how you treat people. And you're working for the people. And I just want to throw that in.
Well, my job with the state, we normally file a report yearly to ethics committee about anything that we do, make sure it's not violated. Now, it depends on the violation and how strong that violation was. And if it's something that simple, that he wouldn't eat lunch with the contractor and contractor bought his lunch because he didn't want to do the work right, you know, that's something you bring that person in, you talk to, and make sure it don't happen again. But it may be some other issue that you have to turn it into a higher up. But normally with the state, the way we do it, if it's strong enough to call on superior, you call the superior and make sure you have a witness, and you tape record the conversation you have with that person. And if it's something that it needs to be done, you go to higher up, then you turn it into that. Otherwise, you just dismiss it.
All right, this is the same question that I asked the mayor candidates. The previous council passed a tax increase known as the DC gas tax. In the last campaign cycle, many candidates vowed, if elected, they would repeal the DC gas tax. During the last 4 years, no action has been made to repeal the DC gas tax. If elected, will you work to repeal the DC gas tax? And I'll let Brandon start that one.
All right, I'm gonna be, just again, 100% honest on that. In my opinion, there's no way we can repeal the DC gas tax unless we're willing to do that same tax to the electric co-op, the phone co-op, Section Dutton Water Board. There's no way we can do that and make that to where it doesn't impact Rainsville in a negative way. Because if you take that tax away from all your utilities, I mean, we're in the red. I mean, it's a good theory, and I know there's a lot of candidates that did say that. But I think when they got in office and really seen the numbers, you can't.
Being new to the election, I'll have to be honest and say I'll have to look into this more. I don't want to tell you an answer and then I'll be totally wrong with it. So that's basically it. I can't answer that question right now.
In a perfect world, we would repeal it. And then we would uphold the campaign promises that we all ran upon 4 years ago. I, one, was guilty of sitting here and being the one who beat the drum the loudest about the DC gas tax. And I was the one who tried to pursue this and went through multiple attorneys to attempt to get a solid answer. And at no point in time was I given the assurity that if we was to repeal this tax, that we would not put in jeopardy any of the other franchise fees that our city finances are based upon. So it's one of those that, you know, I probably could have jeopardized the financial stability of the city by upholding a campaign promise, or I could sit there and eat my words and do what was best for the city. And sitting here right now, I'll be the first one to tell you, I chose to eat my words and do what was best for the city. Long term, if there is a way that we can rewrite that ordinance, and if we do, then it would absolve it because it would be written post-1965. I would be for redoing the complete schedule and ordinance that applies these fees associated with business licenses, business taxes, and franchise fees. But just to straight out repeal the DC gas tax at this point in time would jeopardize too much of our income.
Tina?
Well, I'm with Jeff. I'm a newcomer, I don't know a whole lot about this situation or what we're talking about here on DC gas. I remember hearing bits and pieces. I'm not going to try to answer that because I don't have the knowledge, but I can promise the citizens that I will find out and that I will research it more. And the next time you see me, you can ask me and I'll be able to answer.
Well, first of all, if I'm against any taxes, obviously, increase any taxes. And I'd be for repealing it, but I'll be honest, I'd have to get with lawyers or, whoever we need to consult to really see it broke down. I mean, it sounds like a good idea to me, but it's obviously not bringing in any revenue. I heard Nick and Roger say it's somewhere between $30,000 and $45,000, so it's not a big cash cow, so that's how I look at it.
I was serving in the council when this issue came up. And based on the lawyers searching, looking, they've been fighting that for years and years between the DC Gas and City of Rainsville. And based on the information he gave us at that time, we knew, like Brandon said, there's no way you could get away with that tax unless you go after all the utility companies. That's including $130,000 from power company, $60,000 from water company, and the cable companies. They're all paying the taxes. And so that's the reason we stick with it. And I didn't go around and campaign and saying, I'm going to get away with this tax, because I did my homework and I knew there's no way you can get away with it. And I didn't promise nothing to nobody but descending the tax. I'm sorry that it's tax, I'm paying it, I buy gas just like you all, and I'm paying the city tax just like you all.
I think this is a classic example of the old phrase of decisions have consequences sometimes. And I think that's what happened here. I was opposed to this tax 4 years ago for the same reason I'm opposed to it now, because I do know for a fact now that it has hurt us from an industry recruitment standpoint, because, as I said earlier, I've had 2 phone calls who basically said, you're still the only city that's doing that, and you expect us to consider you? Because it's a big deal to a large industry to pay, because they're large consumers of natural gas. We do goofy things sometimes without thinking about the consequences. The gun-free zone that ordinance we passed a few years ago was a classic example, but we don't have the authority to do that. I think that if we're going to do anything at all about the DC gas tax now, it may be that we go to Montgomery or we work with our legislative delegation and find out what options we have or we don't have. But in my heart, I know that we're denying this city the opportunity to have additional jobs come in because of that tax.
Gary?
Well, when this was all first brought up, being a small business guy, I was for the tax because it created an unfair advantage to government versus private business. It took the propane people and they had an unfair disadvantage to the natural gas people, and it created a price gap. There was already a little bit, but it created a huge price gap. Then you had some citizens of Rainsville paying the tax on propane, and some people on natural gas that weren't paying the tax, and that was unfair. So, to say I'm still for it, but, like I said earlier, it's not what I am for. And tonight I've learned a lot more. I'd never heard what DL said about losing the business. If the people heard this, they may have a different view on this. And like I said earlier, it's not what Gary Hartline is. It's what the people want. And we lay all that out there. If the people want us to get rid of the tax, we'll have to figure out a way to do that. If they want us to keep the tax, that's how I'll vote.
I'll let Jeff start this next question. In the last 4 years, there's been a lot of controversy within the local government of Rainsville. How will you work to eliminate that and focus on the issues at hand? Same question I asked the mayor
Can you
candidate.
repeat that one more time, please?
In the last 4 years, there's been a lot of controversy in the local government of Rainsville. How will you work to eliminate that and focus on the issues at hand?
To be honest with you, our council, and they're all friends of mine and everything, but our council and everything was a joke. Everywhere I went, people waited to see our meetings to find out what we was gonna do. It was like I said, it was a circus. I want to get more unity. A lot of y'all know me. I'm very outspoken. I speak my mind. I don't hold nothing back, and I think that's what you got to have to be a council member. You don't play, I call it playground politics. Everybody plays together. You don't take half the crew and go to the left side of the ball field and take the football league. Everybody's got to work as one. And honestly, I don't see that going on right now. And that's what I want to do. I want to bring the unity. You bring the unity in with the mayor and the council, you get the people behind you. Because a lot of people right now, they're not with the council. And I see a lot of heads nodding out there. So that's what I want to do. I want to be outspoken. If I got to finish this, if there's something comes up and I'm against it, I'm going to tell you I'm against it, and you're going to tell me why I need to be on board with it. We're not just going to go separate ways with it, but we can do this, and that's what I want to do.
Joey?
I think the most important thing is the mayoral and council relations, and that there should be an open line of communication right now. And that's our biggest problem right now, because we have a situation where we can't communicate outside of the meetings. The council can communicate with themselves, but we're having a communication gap when it's going to the mayor. Now, Nick, I ask you this right here, if you get elected and I get elected, please answer my phone calls in the future, because if we can talk back and forth, we can eliminate a lot of the issues. And also, I would like to tell you this right here. There were 1,117 votes cast so far in this administration. Of that, 1,061 of them were unanimous. Only 56 times was there a dissenting vote. Less than 5% of the time. So it's like on 20 of the things that are brought up, we agree on 19 of them. And what happens is there's so much focus on that 5%, that one that we don't agree on. And that's where, if there is more and better communication, that would be helpful for everyone. Thank you.
Carol, will you repeat that question? I want to hear the end of it.
In the last 4 years, there's been a lot of controversy within the local government of Rainsville. How will you work to eliminate that and focus on the issues at hand?
Okay, how I work. I can't speak for any other council members or for the mayor or anybody else. I can tell you how I work. I love people. I've never met anybody I couldn't get along with. I love serving people. I was born to serve. We all have our gifts. God gives us all a gift. My gift is to serve the people. I don't have a problem telling you that I disagree with you or that I agree with you. I believe with unity and honesty that we can all get along, no matter who it is. I will do everything I can to get along with everybody, but I won't lie to do it, and I won't give you false words that I don't mean to do it. I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm going to tell you how I feel. And I believe that we could all work together no matter who it is. And I'd like to see the whole world come together in unity. That's what we need to start with, in our homes, in our town, and then maybe it might spread and be contagious.
Marshall?
Well, we could all speculate as to why they didn't get along. I think it was egos, motives, whatever. But, I think to get along, you got to say, look, even though we disagree about some things, probably some core values, we still got to put it aside and work together to make the city grow. And, I think that's what happened a lot of times. It was more grandstanding and you know, this is my point, I'm gonna say what I wanna say, and you're gonna listen, if you don't like it, you know? And yeah, they did agree 1,000 times, but that may have been like some appointment to some position or something. But those 50 times they didn't agree, you know, they made the headline.
We're just making sure you're all awake, that's what that sound is.
I was in Gadsden, Alabama, eating lunch with some of my friends. And they heard the conversation. I'm from Rainsville, Alabama. And this couple was from Florida. And one of them turned around and said, yeah, we know what Rainsville is. We've been hearing on the news about y'all's controversy in the mayor and the council. I shake my head and I say, well, you know, in 4 years, when I served in the council, I was looking for to go to the council meeting. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed each other's company. We enjoyed our differences because we didn't have no differences. We solved the problem before we went inside of that chamber. The Times-Journal always come up there, and I had to come up with something for them to put in the front page of paper because we didn't have any problem. And, you know, everybody don't have the same opinion. You're not going to find anybody to agree with you right here. Me and my wife been married for 36 years. We never agree with each other all the time, but we've been married 36 years. So, thank you.
I have heard Gary Hartline say tonight at least half a dozen times to listen to the people. I agree with him 100%. The good Lord made us with 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means we need to be doing a lot more listening and observing than we do talking. And in light of what Bijan just talked about, the city of Rainsville, and this is awful to say, but we've become like the WWE. Everybody wants to know when the main event's going to start the next time. It attracts attention from the media. I know that. You guys want to sell a story. That's not the way we operate. That's not the way we should operate. We can disagree and hopefully find a common ground to solve our problem. But even if we don't, it's not like a divorce. There's going to be another issue just in a few minutes or the next meeting or whenever. And I know that Joey said, you know, that only 5% of the time did they disagree, but that 5% carried a lot more weight individually than that 95% did when they were agreeing. So they were important decisions, not that all decisions are not important. But we have to have unity. We have to learn to get along.
Gary?
I had a unique opportunity. A lot of the council members know I disagree with some of the things they've done. But when we leave, we try to be friends. And I've had to make an apology to Brandon and some of my friends for the way I handled some things and done, because we were friends before they went into office, and we still need to be friends after they come out of office or stay in office. But my son wanted to do an Eagle project, and it required getting the city involved. He wanted to do a special needs playground in the city of Rainsville. And I didn't know how I was going to accomplish that because I had disagreed with the council so much on so many issues. But I had confidence that they would put aside our differences and work together. And when we went and talked to the council and the mayor, we had 100% agreement that we needed the park. And not only that, is they worked with my son and got us funding and got us discounts on the equipment. And we worked together, and we left there and went to the DeKalb County Commission and worked with Republicans and Democrats both, even people we disagreed with, and worked that out. And Rainsville got one of the first special needs playgrounds in the DeKalb County. And that was all done by putting politics aside and doing what was right for the city.
I'm going to voice my opinion just right here with like Roger and Nick both said a while ago. Roger says that we have to have harmony, and he's 100% right. Nick said we have to agree to disagree, and he's 100% right. And I've kind of prided myself with that. I mean, I've went against some decisions he's had, I've went along with some of them. But at the end of the day, every decision that you make, you have to believe with everything in you that you're making the best decisions for Rainsville. Whether it's a popular vote or whether it's not, because not all the time the decisions you make are easy and it is a popular vote. Because whatever you do, half the people you're going to make mad. But you have to vote your conviction and think that you have made the best decision you can make. And if you honestly feel like you did that, you can't have regrets on the decisions that you make.
All right. I'm going to let Tina start this next question. Explain what you feel the role of a council member should be. Should a council member act as a department head and micromanage daily operations, or should you only give guidance and leadership to department heads? Explain what you feel the role of a council member should be. Should a council member act as a department head and micromanage daily operations, or should they give guidance and leadership to department heads?
We should give guidance and leadership. Also, we should be listening to the citizens more than what we do now. You can't promise a citizen that you're going to vote or approve of something that they won't, because there's times that the council members at the meetings, they bring up something and they vote it right then. Well, how can you go to the citizens and say, well, how do you feel about that when you don't have the opportunity? But no, I don't think we should micromanage. We have department heads, council members, we're voted in. You choose who you put in there. That shows who you trust, who you put your decisions hands in. But no, we shouldn't micromanage any department.
Marshall?
I don't think we should micromanage. I mean, if I were a councilman, if Johnny's the police chief, and if he's working with a guy and he doesn't feel like he's doing the job, and I'm going to go to Johnny and ask him, what he thinks. And if he thinks he should be terminated or whatever, I'm going to back Johnny's decision, because he's obviously been around him. He knows what he's capable of and what he's not. Or if it was Dobbins on Public Works, Dobbins has been there. He knows the people. He knows how they operate and what they're capable of. And he thinks they're doing a good job, and so be it if he doesn't. And, I'm going to back the department head's decision.
John?
The board of council, I guess I look at it as advisor. When you got a problem with somebody and you go down there and you don't try to boss that person. You try to advise that person what's the best, what's not. All right? If you got a department head and you trust that person to put him over that department, so that person should be the one that you go to and try to advise that person what's the best for the city and the taxpayers. So don't try to bully them. Don't try to take over the situation, whatever that situation is, and work it among yourself with that employee or that head department, whoever it is. Don't try to boss them, just advise them. That's my best answer.
Tim?
As I mentioned earlier, I've got about 35 years of management experience, and I've done everything from managing one person in very small businesses to as many as 1,700 people that I'm responsible for in managing. The one thing you have to do is to understand and accept, swallow your pride, whatever it is. When you're dealing with a group as large as the city of Rainsville's employees, Johnny Stewart knows how to do police work. I don't know how to do police work. Thomas Ridgway knows how to, what it takes to be a trained firefighter and what their responsibilities are. Running the sewer, I don't know anything about the sewer plant. When you start micromanaging people, you're telling them you know more than they do. And you can lead, you can guide, and all those things that are wonderful, and you should. I think that the council members should be the liaison to represent those employees, and we have some great ones here, to represent the people. You're the bosses, it's your money that we're responsible for, to be the representative of the people and to the employees back to the council when we have meetings. I have talked to over half of our employees already, and I'm very impressed with them. Thank you.
Well, I got this thing that if you're going to appoint a chief of police or a fire chief or department head, you should have full confidence in that person. This one's died.
He's got it.
Battery died. But when you appoint a department head, you need to have full confidence in them. Right now, the city is micromanaging by limiting how much money each department head can write checks for, and that is ridiculous. A police chief shouldn't have to go to a council meeting to buy a bulletproof vest for a new police officer or a new pistol for a police officer. They should be given long-term budgets. Mine ideally would be a year-long budget, because if you can't trust a department head with a year-long budget, you need a new department head. Not to say that the council and the mayor can't oversee those spending on, we get reports from accountants, and we can oversee those spendings to make sure that these ladies and gentlemen are doing this in the right way. But for them to have to come to council meetings and buy stuff that are needed, that's a little bit much in my opinion. Now, if you want to say they got a $10,000 budget, that's a little different story. But Sandy shouldn't have to come in if a motor blows up on a lawnmower in the ball field to go get another motor, because that stops the whole operation for possibly 2 weeks. He should be able to go to wherever he gets his motor, write a check, and knows that comes out of his budget. And if you give them a budget, they'll learn how to trim it. Because if they got a cow, they'll learn how to make the most of it.
I don't think that micromanaging is an option. I mean, if you've got your department heads that you put in there that you trust, that you voted on to be a department head, you can't do that. I do think it's important for the liaison, the council person, whoever is over a department, to be seen there. I mean, I had the privilege, the first 2 years that I was over streets and sanitation, at least 3 times a week, I went by the shop before work just to sit and talk to the guys and make sure everything was all right. The last 2 years, I've been over Parks and Rec, and I don't know that I've missed a softball tournament. I think it's very important that you need to be seen, you need to be active doing that. But as far as micromanaging, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, micromanagement's definitely out. If you hire a person to take care of something of yours, that's his responsibility. And if he has people under him, he's responsible for those people and their actions. If something involves from one of his workers, he should take care of it. But the council and them should be the liaisons to monitor that. I'm a firm believer of the budgeting. Like the fire department, I talked to them, they want to have more hands-on with their purchasing and stuff, and I'm all for that. Like I said earlier, the fire department, police department, I'm 100% behind them, because you've got to have them and they got to be up to par. But yeah, no micromanagement. I'd let the head of departments take care of it. If they couldn't, we'll take over from there.
I don't think micromanaging is actually an option. One, because as a council person, you're nobody's boss. The only time that you have any authority is once that there is a called meeting and it's in session. Once that meeting adjourns, you're just an average citizen. Now what you are is you are a liaison to that department. And as a council, We have the ability to put forth certain department heads, and when you put somebody over a department, you expect them to manage that department. Now, I've had the privilege of being the liaison to both the wastewater treatment plant and to the street and sanitation department. And I've told both Alan Steeple and Ricky Dobbins the same thing. You know, the moment that I'm in your way, you let me know. Last thing I need to do is interfere with you doing your job. What I'm here to get you what you need to do your job. And if you have to have anything brought to the council, bring it to me and I'll bring it to the council and bring it up for a vote. But there is a mechanism in place where you can micromanage because you're not anybody's boss. Outside of a called meeting when it's in session, you're just an average citizen. You have no authority over any individual in the city.
All right, that's the end of our questions. I would like to give each candidate 1 minute to address you, just on why they appreciate your vote. I'll let Bijan start this one. You haven't got to go first.
About 8 years ago, I stood right there, that corner right there. And I promised the citizens of Rainsville, if you elected me, I would do the best of my ability to serve you. And I did. I feel like I did a good job. I managed your money. We paved roads. That some of the streets, it's not been paved over 25 years. And they was in bad shape. But like I said before, by me doing all the engineering work, the city did not have to hire a private engineer to do any of this paperwork. I managed the money, I put the contract together, we let it, the contract come in, and I took off from my own regular job just to inspect the project. And by doing that, we saved the city every year anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000. And in 4 years, we saved up 120-some thousand that we pay Atkinson every year. And if it wasn't because of my job, what I did for the city, we wouldn't have that parking lot in Atkinson. Thank you.
First of all, let me say thank you to each of you who sat so patiently and listened to us go back and forth with so many different answers and so many same answers to questions. And I appreciate the Times-Journal for sponsoring this, and I think the questions have been very fair, and I appreciate that. I used up some of that time because I knew I couldn't tell you what I wanted to tell you in a minute anyway, so. But I would appreciate your vote. I think I have the maturity, the experience, the attitude to manage budgets, projects, to work with people, to be a liaison back to you, the taxpayers that we're responsible to, and I can do that in a way that does not create headlines. I think we can solve problems. I used to be the human resources manager for a plant that had a United Steelworkers contract with 700 people. I was the human resources manager. You don't get along with the union. We did. We managed to solve problems. We didn't always agree, but we managed to solve problems. That's the attitude, that's the approach that I'd like to bring to the Rainsville City Council, and I appreciate your vote.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. There ain't many people as busy as I stay. I stay busy all the time. I'm a mission pastor. I own my own business, me and my wife. I say I own it. We own it. She basically runs it. But anyway, she tells me what to do, when to do it. But anyway, it's an honor to be here to interview for this job. I think that for us to be here says something about the people, because we wouldn't be here if you guys didn't ask us to run. I would say that we've all had people ask us to run. I want to say I'm listening to what y'all are saying, that y'all want well-equipped police department, well-equipped fire department, great sewer system, great roads. That is something I'm listening to. I'm listening to less debt. If we can, we're going to have debt, but I know y'all don't want a mountain of it. I'm want to listen to you guys. It's not going to be about Gary. It's not going to be what I feel is right for you guys. It's going to be about what you feel is right for you guys. I will be your vote. It won't be my vote. It'll be your vote. And I just appreciate the time and thank the Times-Journal for doing it. And I agree. I believe all the questions were fair, and I believe everybody answered them as honest as they could. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Times-Journal for putting this on. I mean, like I said, everyone says they always fair questions. As you can tell, everyone here, there's some of us may have a little different opinion. I mean, that goes back to the harmony part of things. Not everybody sees the exact same on everything. But I mean, I want to say on my behalf, I was fortunate enough I got to serve for 4 years. On our council, when we all got elected this time, there was 5 out of 6 that had never sat here before. And it was a big learning curve for a lot of me, because you could go to a council meeting, but you really didn't know the pressure of sitting in that chair when the decisions you make impact so many people. So I'm fortunate enough that this time that I actually run unopposed. So I took it to death. But for every person that's here, that's going out there and knocking on these doors and asking for your vote, they're sincere. Because they wouldn't be out here doing this if they didn't have Rainsville's best interest in there. So I suggest to everyone there, listen to them. Because why they're coming out to see y'all is, y'all's support matters to them. Because, like I said, their interest is Rainsville.
I'd like to thank Times-Journal for having this, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming. It shows me that you care about your city and care who's running your city. The public they're hard to deal with. I've had a business now for 17 years, and working with the public will make you pull your hair out. But in that amount of time, I have learned how to deal with the public. And when I first started, it was, I'm going to tell the public whatever they want to hear. Yeah, we can do this. But later on, I found out you have to tell the public what they need to hear. And once you do that, you start getting a bond with your people, and you don't make enemies. I'm not about good old boy politics. Like I said, I'll speak my mind, pro or con, and I would just like to ask for everybody's vote coming up in August, and I'm really looking forward to being part of your city council. Thank you.
I'd like to tell you it's been an honor to serve on the city council for the past 4 years, and it's an experience which I will treasure for my whole life. And it takes you a while to truly understand what it takes to be a good council member. And during that 4 years, I do believe I'm finally to the spot where I have the knowledge to go forth and really have a productive 4 years if I'm given the opportunity and the honor of serving another term. Now, I do have a goal and a vision of what I'd like to see Rainsville accomplish. And I'd like to see us set a policy where the city is resurfacing or paving 4 to 5 miles every year. Now, such a policy is going to be a very expensive policy, and you have to have financing for something like that. A policy without financing is just words. And they could be fancy words, they could be not so fancy words. But the finance are 4 to 5 miles, and it will take a while to get there. I would like to try to grow our sanitation department. Last year, we had total gross receipts of $620,000, and that's for the commercial, the industrial, and the residential services in both Rainsville and in Fife. We had expenses of $450,000, so we had net profit of $170,000. Now, we have a lot of surrounding communities that are serviced by private companies, and those contracts with those private companies will be expiring over the next 4 years. I think it would be very beneficial for the city of Rainsville to approach each and every one of them and see if we can take over the sanitation routes and have that money directed straight to a road resurfacing project. Any support, I would appreciate it. Thank y'all for listening to me. I'm a chatty Cathy, so I'm going to pass the microphone.
I stand before you as a citizen of the United States of America. I stand before you as a citizen of Alabama. I stand before you as a citizen of DeKalb County. But most of all, I stand before you tonight as a citizen of Rainsville, Alabama. Stephen and I moved here about 5 years ago. The best move I ever made in my life. I want to be proud of Rainsville, and I want you to be proud of it. I do not make promises that I don't know for a fact that I can keep. But I will make the citizens of Rainsville one promise. I will work hard for you. I will listen to you. I will support you. And I'm always there for you. My phone number is right on top of the building of Addicts for Christ. Everybody has access to it. I'm on call 24/7 for addicts. That's what I do. I place addicts in homes. I work with addicts. I have been working with the public for 40 years. I love people, and I don't know too many people that don't love me back.
First off, I'd like to thank the Times-Journal for putting this on. I think the questions have been fair and people have answered them honestly. And I want to thank y'all, especially for coming in, because look around, you're the ones that's concerned citizens. You made the effort to come. If more people got out and stuff like this, I think the country maybe wouldn't be in the shape it's in. I've traveled around the city and I've talked to a lot of people and shook a lot of hands. The biggest thing I hear is, let's stop the fight. Let's get along. We want Rainsville to be on TV for something that's happened positive, not for some kind of fight that happened in a city council meeting or something, some kind of crazy something. I mean, let's get along, because no industry is going to want to come to a town that's on TV all the time for fighting. That's the biggest concern I've heard is let's get along. Let's try to come together. Even if we disagree, let's not get it in the paper and in the news. Thank you.
I said earlier, running for public office is a thankless job, and that is so true. Very rarely does someone come up and say, man, you're doing a great job. Our city's perfect. Have you guys heard that very often? Probably not. So that being said, I have a lot of respect for anyone who wants to run for public office. But what I ask of each one of you guys, no matter how these elections turn out, win or lose, I hope that every one of you stay involved in your local governments and still be a part of that. So that being said, I just want to thank all the candidates for coming out tonight, and I want to thank all of you guys for coming out tonight.
Does anybody in the audience got any questions? We'll be glad to hear.
I do.
Go ahead.
Is there
Is
anything?
this for me or what?
It's for, I don't know, but
Okay.
everybody. About the dog leash law. Is that gonna ever be we've had a lady that.
You know what? It's funny you asked that, because me and Gary was going around campaigning on the left side of Church Street, going down Mitchell and all of Willingham and all those other streets. And I actually talked to some of the police. And the law is on the books, and from what I can tell, there needs to be more teeth to it. It's like, of course, the police are not equipped to deal with dogs, and they go out there and they talk to the people, and then they say, well, it was over here, and they try to find the owner, and it comes back and forth thing. The police are not equipped to deal with the dogs, so that's something definitely needs to be looked into, because it doesn't matter how many laws you pass if you're not putting teeth to them. And there's we don't have any kind of system for dealing with the dogs.
The reason I was asking that, there was a lady just recently on Garrett Street that attends our church, and she's in really bad shape. The dog ran out in front of her bike. She's had pins and rods put in, so I think we need to look into that because it could cost her her life.
Oh, I agree, because they was all